for what's happening or what sequence of time is happening at
Yes,
this moment.
It's coming up March 12th,
that's correct.
12, and
according to Google, right?
when we talk about the Mexica New Year, we got to remember that the four carriers of time start at different times of the day. So today we're going to be discussing what we should be focusing on and what are distractions to us. But I want to set up the show in a way that's like, it's important. It's been important for me to really kind of commemorate the shifting of this year, right? Like the movement of a year, kind of like how people celebrate it in January, where they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this," and they never really do it, and you know what I mean, like a New Year's resolution, right?
Yes.
But in our culture, that New Year's resolution came with sacrifice. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna think of something that I need to work on and then ignore it. Why? Because you're putting the intention, you're planting that seed in the middle of winter. It's like you're shoveling aside snow, trying to put a seed in the hardest ground, right? That's why those fruitions or those resolutions never, New Year's resolutions never really come into fruition. I think I've been learning for the past 5 years on how to focus those resolutions, right? And we were discussing this at the shop
Yes.
prior to coming here.
Yes.
Sky was mentioning to me that, it'd be good to kind of share what kind of a focus is when things of that nature, like instead of just getting drunk and celebrating and saying some things that you're not going to do and kissing your partner and going, that's New Year.
Yep.
In our culture, you really focused on yourself. And each year, you are to challenge yourself with just a little bit more. It's kind of like a New Year's resolution, but one that really comes with sacrifice. It comes with the discipline and it comes with the focus because it comes with 5 days of fasting. So if you're going to fast for 5 days and then go, I'm going to change something after that, it comes with a big prayer. So you end up changing that. For me, it was meat, alcohol. This year, it'll be cheese, dairies.
So
Each year, I'm improving myself because I'm going into a new year. It's very important in these 5 days, which is day number 1, Nemotemi, right? The last 5 days to put us back onto the count. So that's what we'll be discussing today on the show, trying to share with people in a community. It's not like Daniel said, I could feel the spring,
Right.
almost like your roots are getting so much sustenance, from the energy that's coming. And that's the type of focus that we need to put on. This is our new year. But
Right.
we're not just going to go get a fancy dress and a fancy suit or, and then go to the most expensive place, and waste money, celebrate time shifting at midnight when it doesn't shift at midnight, and
Spend money on fireworks, which
it's
is
this stupid. And these, how many, Daniel's mentioning this too before we got on air. How many other cultures celebrate something during this time? I mean, the world isn't wrong. And that's what I think we're doing here as a community of Las Taslan. Why is it Las Taslan? Because we're standing right in front of each other and we don't know where we're at. We don't know what we're doing.
Hey, but brother, this is the first step, or not? I wouldn't say the first step, but this is part of the step to us really being appreciating what. Okay, what you say is true, but another truth is that we're still here where we started from. We're somebody who's the time that we're talking about. It's true because okay, as a people, and if you think about it, we were very we loved our life. We loved we loved creation, and so what we did is we observed, and by observing nature, it spoke to us, and I don't want to scare anybody, but it spoke to us in many ways in terms of math and numbers, and that's what we were talking about, Ruben, or this weekend was about numbers and how, but not numbers like the way we see them, but maybe numbers like say, se, ome, yay, the way we used to think, and then when you start to think that way, then it begins. There's like a beginning and an end, and for us, the beginning begins. Well, when would it be? Well, wouldn't spring be a good time to begin everything? When the cold, is past you and the sun is now beginning its trek back in, well, they say it's coming back because during winter is when it's its furthest away. And so, it's when the sun begins to come back to us. And if we see the sun as creation, then it's a time. And I've learned over the years because I was fortunate that in the Bay, we've had the Mexica New Year in the Bay for a long time, at least for me, considered a long time. And so we begin to kind of adjust it. Okay, March is coming around. The festival's going to come, but also to myself being a gardener, and I know that like spring comes around and like the plants start to tell me, oh, I need more water. I need more, and it's beautiful because that's what I do. I'm malinali, so I'm the hierba is my life force, and so
And that's the most powerful thing. That's the most powerful thing is to understand that we are a part of nature.
right,
And
right.
when we observe nature, it's common sense. It's a common sense. Like, that's how profound our ancestors were, where they go, we're gonna look at this point in time for 1,000 years before we make a decision that this is gonna happen during that time. You know what I mean? And they're like, wait, you're not gonna live 1,000. I know, but my grandchildren and my
Yes,
great great grandchildren are gonna still observe when this phenomenon happens.
right, right.
And then we start tying time and commemorating time. And this is the kind of focus, if we can all do as a community, right? And do
Right,
it in
right.
little ways. Do it in little ways. You don't have to do it extreme, like, fasting for 5 days and taking the time to meditate on what happened last year. What can you improve going into the next year? I mean, these are very self-reflective days. Like, and it's almost like, for me, the last 2 weeks of February, I start eating really, really late. And that's when I know my body's starting to shift into getting ready to fast for 5 days, you know?
Right, right.
And today, the page you were discussing, Daniel,
Yes.
I saw their post and it was like, oh, Nemotemi starts on the 6th. And I was like, oh, whoa. Because in my mind, I had already prepared that
Right.
7th is when I do
Right,
it.
right, right,
Oh,
right.
and then I saw the post. And this is what I mean about the focus of this particular shifting of time. My body automatically said, okay, our fast starts now. No warning. Just go. It's done. Excuse me. So sometimes you kind of can talk yourself out of things or delaying things for a little while. But
Escatli poca, brother.
when you're focused, it's kind of like spring.
Yes,
Spring is inevitable.
yes.
No one's going to stop those little flowers from coming out of the plants. No one, nothing.
Right, right.
There's nothing. It's nothing in this world, in this universe that could stop that.
Yeah,
We can kill ourselves off and never see it again, but nothing can stop those flowers from growing. You
yeah.
can do it in an area, one
Yeah,
little area, but it won't be the entire globe or the entire surface of Bonanzin or Mother Earth.
yeah.
That's a good point though, because I feel like that's order. That's the natural order of the world, right?
Right.
The world works in cycles, right? And now when we talk about ourselves, human beings, we've kind of placed ourselves out of that cycle, right? When you talk about the springtime and you talk about these new flock of animals that are going to be born and these flowers that are going to sprout, we look at it and all that's beautiful, but we don't place ourselves in that equation, right? It's almost like that's secondary to us. It's not
Well, no,
primary.
I agree, man. I concur, but I would even add this dimension to it. Okay, when you think about language, okay, think about language and think about how we speak English, and really, English is the base of almost separating from what we're talking about because we really are talking about spirit. and in your heart and your soul, things that you don't see that you feel. And really, English is a language it's hard to find words to describe that. I mean, you just take the word spring. Okay, it's a cool word. In Spanish, it's called primavera. So it's like the first look. So it's already beginning to tell you, wait a second, that's a different look, just in the language of the same perspective, you know? And then you got the Nemotemi, and that's our way of describing the beginning. And so I just think it's interesting. I remember one time a couple weeks ago, and I should have mentioned it, but I'll mention it now that someone had mentioned in the chat that the English language is a language for to create surplus, you know, and to make things, whereas Nahuatl was more to mimic nature, you know, to be in harmony with nature. And they're like, man, that was a beautiful point, and it's very true that we're doing things, and I know this because when I would teach Nahuatl to the little kids, they would get it. They somehow it was already programmed in them to understand what thousands of years, like you said, Ruben, thousands of years they put these things together. And I remember studying. They said, well, you know what that they did is they tried to teach us in a way that we study binary, fire not fire. It's true. It's dots, lines, dots and lines is the way we think. And the Maya knew this, and so they learned how to break down information, and we learned it this way. And the year is the same way. There's an order to everything. And so you were talking about those counts. Well, 13 in our count is a tlalpili. Okay, and a tlalpili is a 13. You know, so that's like the beginning of this count, because you get 13, 13, 13, and 13 as 52. That's the whole year. You know, they're putting together the year, and it's like we never see it that way because we're caught up in 365. We're caught up in the way they present it to us. But if you look it up, it's we're in perfect harmony, but our ancestors had been seeing it for so long. They loved it so much that they drew it into the glyphs of all the art that we see. It's just that we don't know how to read them. But little by little, we're getting it. We're understanding. Because if we begin to, we know that se is one instead of si. It's not si, it's se. Because se is beautiful. It's like sewatl. It's se, the first one in water. The first one in water is a woman. But if you say Siwat, okay, well, it's a Siwat. That's a girl. Sewatl is the woman in water, you know, and so that's that harmony that we were looking for. And I just remember because I remember them teaching me, and I thought, oh my God, that's beautiful. And when you hear the way that we make science a song, because think about it, this culture separates it. It says the spirit's over here and the science is over here. Where in Nahuatl, they're a form, they're two serpents dancing, you know, and that's where we live. And it's so important to us that we looked at it and we said, let's track this, let's make it important so that we'll know that this is where we are. And so that's what we're doing is we're coming back, you know, but it's not that we're coming back, but it's just that it's a spiral. It's like, wait, this feels good. You know, that this weekend, Ruben, oh my God, Molly and I, the event was so beautiful. My heart was just over, you know, so much love. Everyone, happy New Year, and it was such the beginning. I just felt like the beginning of something good, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
Plant Based Aslan. Plant Based Aslan is a solid community of individuals, you know, focusing their energy on trying to heal themselves in whatever
no,
capacity.
Ruben, they're not trying. They're doing it. They're
Yeah,
they're
Doing it
healing
exactly.
themselves.
and
You know, their intention is good.
shout out to Jenny who set up the fire. You
Amen.
know,
Yeah, Jane,
for,
hey, all of you, man, everyone working in unison
and
made that
yeah, and shout out to my buddy Robin who contributed a little
right.
bit to Callum.
Hey,
Callum,
and also too, and my friends Yuli and Victoria that came through with my homies at the booth. So yeah, but all the people that showed up, man, they're just such beautiful souls, man. It's just a good gathering, and it really felt like a good New Year. You know, it's the
yeah, you know that. Well, I mean, it just landed. You know, prior to you know the 6th. Well, you know, we're in the last part of it, and we'll start on the 11th. That'll be the official day.
right.
But it's cool that yeah, like how that's what me and Sky were talking about prior to coming here is that when you're commemorating the spring, yeah, it's good to put out flowers or do whatever the ritual is. But when you start to sacrifice things that are you, right? Like when you start fasting, I'm not saying that everybody should do that. That's not everybody's thing. But it could be fasting of talking. Let's say, for instance, okay, I'm not going to give up food, but I'm not going to say anything for 5 days.
Right, right.
See if you can keep that discipline,
Well,
right?
I think that was a good word, Ruben. It's just discipline in general. You know,
Well,
if you and
our culture, I mean, how do you make sophisticated calendars? How do you get so precise with time if you don't have discipline?
Well,
It's
Ruben, you and I
impossible.
said when you have discipline, it's funny how lucky you become, and it's not that you're lucky. It's just that when you do the work, things happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I learned that, and it's
It's
just
it's it's common sense, like you said. Like, when you don't eat for 5 days, your
Mhm.
stomach and your intestines are not pumping,
Right,
so
right.
you're almost in a suspended state.
No, but I want to keep it simple. The homie in the is it Palenga that says, "When I get my bike running, then I get around more." It's so true, like you know.
When we and it's really important, and I first I really didn't understand like what it was like, but then you see the pictures, right? I saw a picture of the Nemotemi, like a glyph.
Right,
Right?
right, right,
It had the symbols of the days that it landed on. It had a hand on his nose,
right, right,
and then it just started speaking about focusing those 5 days on yourself. That's the message that I got from just looking at that picture.
right, right. Well, hey, wait,
Focus.
hold on, Ruben. Think about that for a moment because we were talking about that this weekend, and now I'm just a point here. You said you've had to struggle when you were young because you had dyslexia, so you really couldn't read books. Books to you were very hard to read now. And remember you're saying that, but when you look at the glyphs, you just gotta look at them. You don't have to know how to read them. They're there. And so the ancestors made it for us to all to see them and to accept them and not to have to be trained. But granted, today you've got to start to understand it because it's so far from where we started. But the whole idea is for you just to see it. Anybody could see it, and
Well,
that's the
that
natural
that's
ability.
that's that's the way they explain art, right?
Yes.
So you explain art as something that's going to surpass the artist's life, the one that created it, the drawing that it came from. It's going to surpass him because it's
Right.
almost like the energy of life is coming through him,
Right.
create this
Right.
image, and it's kind of a permanent image because if we take care of it, it'll last as
Right.
long as we let it last, as long as those temples, as long as whatever. So the important part, though, to add to the art is the number sequences that are
Right.
inside those art pieces.
Right. Right on. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
but why? Why are those number sequences important? Because it relates to the shifting of time.
I think also too order, because I think before you could even get into discipline, human beings we have to have some kind of order, right?
That is true.
The world has an order. Animals have an order, a cycle they follow, right? But us human beings, if we don't have no order, how can we be disciplined, right?
Sure.
Well,
Well, that's why we're very undisciplined right
but
now.
here's the thing. Think of that point, man. I like what you said, Sky, because okay, now I agree we have order, but think about this. You and I, we don't have the order that women have. Women are in tune with the moon in a cycle that they can't break. I mean, they could take birth control pills to try to change it, but they're already in order. So it's actually us as men. We're chaotic, man. We'll poke anything.
Got
And
that wild
I mean,
heart.
okay, but here's
Wait.
wait, but hold on, Rubens. I'm just saying. Let me finish this. But so we need order. We need order. We need ritual
Mhm.
and ceremony because we're not lined up the way the women are. We need to follow something because if not, whew, we can be very destructive. We can be very, and so what I'm saying that we as men, and you think of this culture and how there's a lack of order for us. Okay, because the women are going to find order because they're the creator. The creator's going to find a way. It's just nature sets it for them. But for us, man, we need ritual. That's why the warrior path. The warrior walks that path because it's the way his heart follows that path. But without that order or structure, because I mean, and I've talked to Ruben about that. I said, man, when Ruben was young, he had no guidance. He had to test all that shit himself. Me, Daniel, oh man, I had a dad who kicked my ass. My mom kicked anytime I did anything wrong, bam, man, And so it's different, but I just saying that's that, the order. There's an order to things, and like we need that discipline, and not just, I give thanks that I had that discipline, or better yet, it was imposed on me, But I look at Ruben, I say, man, brother, you've accomplished a lot with the time,
But
you know.
there's a reason why, though. In my opinion, it's just that order is good. It gives a direction.
Right.
But sometimes, like I said, it's like spring. things are inevitable, right? It was going to be inevitable that somebody in my lineage was going to
Right,
find
of
the things
course.
that I found and did the things that I did. I mean, it's just inevitable. It's like springtime is inevitable.
Right.
Summertime is inevitable. The changing of these seasons are inevitable because the force that we call the universe, life, God, whatever it is, makes it that way. If we pay attention, if we focus, how do we focus? Do we just focus because we go, okay, here it is? What are we doing to commemorate this shift? It doesn't have to be big, but the more you challenge yourself, that's what our purpose in life was, is to reach full potential. You have 52 years to get to full potential. Yeah, and yeah, they genocided us, and yeah, they blocked us from our history and our culture, but they did not take away nature.
Right.
They did not
And
take away
yeah,
the cycles of nature,
the greatest teacher. Right.
right? Now we just got to plug in the math.
Right. Right. And
And you plug in
really,
the math with the system that's naturally that way because that's what we documented.
right.
Then
Right.
there's the answer.
And you know what too, Ruben, I mean, just to talk about the numbers and the math, like in terms of the um, you know, just to let everyone know, it's basically it's 20, or it says 18 months of 20 days, or is it 20 months, right? Is it 18 months for their 20 days?
Hmm.
So that's 360. Okay, and so then the Nemote makes up the five. So that's your year. So that math, it's like, well,
And
we're,
think and look at that system, right? So we have 365 days, right?
Yep.
And then metaphorically, just think about it. If we're to fast and deal with ourselves, right? Like a tree in a forest, it has to fast. It has to deal with itself. It doesn't have any more leaves.
hey, but you know what,
It
too,
almost has
Ruben?
to it has to give in. It has to take itself to a point where like one looks at a tree in winter and goes, "Oh, is it dead or is it?" No, it's dormant.
Right,
It's going through its cycle, right? And that's the metaphor of the Nemotemi, right? Fast. Take yourself through the last part of winter as you enter an abundant spring, a strong spring. Now you're using the force of the universe to
right,
back your dream. I believe this is how Malinali was able to be made. I believe this is how plant-based Aslan and every alley natives, everything that I've done, I've put that kind of force behind it.
right.
That's what our ancestors did collectively.
Yes.
That's the goal for our community. Not to follow me. Find your own path, find your own way, but focus on these time shifts because it's a wave. It's kind of like he's an amazing surfer, but you got to get the momentum of the wave to surf
Right,
on
right,
the
right.
wave.
Well, and you know what, too, Ruben? That's interesting. There was a book that was called the "Surfing the Waves of the Zavuya," and I want to say, man,
That's
it
what
was
Cerro de Guayas.
That's an
okay.
interesting
So
one.
And it's
somebody gave
called
me that.
Surfers of the Savuya.
Somebody gave me that book, man. I was in Colorado somewhere, and I was like, okay, man. I'd heard about it, I'd read it, and it was like, yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I liked what he was talking about, but he was basically talking about this time that the waves were coming. The universe was sending us a wave, and that you had to be ready for the times the waves are coming. So right now, we're in the waves. Right now, this is what he's talking about when the the waves are coming. And so, but I thought it was interesting that it's true. We have to learn to surf the waves that are coming. Because it's literally what's happening. The spiral is just becoming stronger during these times. And so,
It's like think of it as the ocean going to the and it's doing this forever motion, right?
right,
This
right,
forever motion is springtime,
right, right, right,
summer, winter. It's not shifting. It's not going faster. It's not going slower. We're going faster.
man,
We're going slower.
right, right,
But the wave is constant.
right, right, right,
Focus on that wave. It's not hard to miss. It's not hard to miss preparing yourself. Oh shit. It's oh shit, today's the day. Okay, cool. We're in. We're in the prayer.
right, right.
What am I going to work on myself because I'm going into a new year? What am I letting go of last year? What am I letting go? All the pain that I had, all the disagreements, all the confusion.
Right.
It's gone. It's
And
done.
at
It's
the
the
same
tree
time, Ruben,
accepting. It's the tree accepting that it had to shed all its leaves.
right, right. What's
'Cause you can't
nature?
take the same amount of you can't take the same amount of leaves into the next year.
Right, right,
It's a new set of leaves.
Yep.
We have to be new set, new mindset, a
right,
focus. How can we build our community? How can we make our family better? How can I connect to my loved ones? How can I connect to myself?
right, right, right.
That's the path. That's the path. I don't have the answer. I know what I do for me. I could teach you what I do for me, but you have to find out what you is.
Absolutely.
Don't do what I do to be you.
Right,
Do what you do to be you,
right,
and use the frame to help you,
right, right.
because there is no wrong answer. But we have to use the wave and force. That's the most, man. And the elites and all them that we talk shit about, and the Illuminati and the bullshit, and then them motherfuckers do it in secret. Oh, let's shh. No one know, right?
Yeah.
And we're going way too fucking fast and way too fucking slow when it's a constant wave and they can't even shift it. They can't, you know, they can't fuck with time. They cannot fuck with time. They can confuse us about time,
Yes.
but they can't fuck with time.
But time is on our side, Ruben, because time is something that we develop. You know, that there. And here's the thing, too, I was going to throw in just so people to note that we're in a leap year this year. Okay,
That's right. That's
okay.
right. We
So
are.
and so I just want you to know something. Our system of tracking time, they didn't need a leap year.
Nope.
It was a perfect system. And I remember some pendejo out in the Midwest somewhere was talking about how he was this and that, the Chicano anthropologist, Anyways, that he knew that our people had a leap day, and I thought, man, who's this guy's teacher? And it was just some güero at some class, and then he threw caca on Arturo Mesa. I was like, oh, that guy's full of shit. And so I just thought, okay, I mean, to me, that was, I mean, that's pretty heavy. But then it's like he was supposed to be teaching Nahuatl classes. But I say that just because you can be led by many, is it charlatans, the word, but truth is truth. And like the
Right.
homie said, truth will surface, And so I said, hey, you know what? I know what the answer is. I know how we avoided the leap year. Okay. But you should know. You're teaching Nahuatl.
You can't
And
change the truth. You
But
can
right.
twist it, but you can't change it.
But that's
So,
the
so, brother, basically the answer is in 4 years, if you celebrate the new year, if every other year you celebrate it at noon, after 4 years, you don't need makeup for the day. Does that make sense?
meaning if
You
we
understand
start
me.
the time, if we start the day at 6 a.m.,
Yes.
and that's the year of Toshli, right?
Mhm.
And then the next cycle, or what they call a year, is Kali, which starts at 12 noon, right? I think it's 12 noon.
Well, but here's the thing, Ruben. Here's the thing,
And
and we were
then
talking about this earlier.
the next year, you go 6 p.m. and then midnight. Those are see how it's 6 hours pushed
Yes.
each year so that you don't have to have a leap year
Right.
if you run that system.
Right.
Not every year starts at midnight at fucking, that's not the system. That's not even a system of counting or shifting.
But Ruben, and I remember I was going to add that, where I studied in Mexico, man, it is really anybody ever gets a chance to go, you got to go to Xochicalco. Okay, Xochicalco is outside Cuernavaca, and in Xochicalco is where Acatl Topilzin Quetzalcoatl lived and studied, and so in this place is a place where you go and it's a place where you see where they actually lived and where they were tracking time, and it's just a different approach to how would you say just to tracking time. But anyway, on the glyphs there's two cultures that are present. It's the Toltecs and the Maya. And in that glyph, they're explaining to you that the Toltecs were 1 day ahead of the Maya, and that even though they were 1 day ahead, the Maya took precedent and the time was sent to the Maya. And that's why it happens sometimes that they would be tracking on different times, but they were in their own region accurate in their time. And that's why it's like you can follow different ceremonies, but as long as you're under the sun, because if you look at the if you're looking at the sun, everything they built is registered in the Forbidden City in Beijing. Pick that map up, take it to Teotihuacan, and it's the same map. Why? Because they're looking under the same sun and the same stars. And so they're measuring all these things. And that's why we share a global vision of the sky, and thanks to the homie Robin, I love that kid, man. But he told me, he said, Yo, Daniel, the sky is feminine. And I thought, oh my God, duh, of course it is, because it's creator. We all come from the. I thought, oh man, but that's the harmony. And so in that sense, the earth is the male and the sky is feminine. But it's this dance that we do. It's just the life and the death. That it's just they're two cycles living with each other. But this is ours. You think about it. All that's for the planet Earth. That's us. But then we also track Venus, the moon, and the sun.
The
So we're not
celestial mother. We forget about our celestial
right.
mother.
Yes,
Can't
I
forget
love it.
about it.
Right. And so that's because it's a dance that they play, because when the sun is sending energy, then that's feminine, but when it's pulling back in, it's masculine, so it's that dance that it does.
It's the balance. How to
Yeah,
find that balance.
exactly. And
Absolutely.
and that's the masculine and the feminine points on the tonal machotl. So the masculine points are up and down, but the feminine points are where the years are. They sit atop the years. And so, well, it's covered down, but it's a good map of the sky. And so that's how we were map of the sky. I love it. And so it's something that
Yeah.
it's there. It's creation, brother. You are creation.
But that's the beauty of it. The answer lies all within oneself and in the world. Like it's so there, but we make things so complicated, right? As
Well,
Americans, we get so complicated up here.
we begin though with us, like you said, we begin here, and as if I change here, then I could use that as an instrument to be an example of change. You know, and that's the best way to teach is by teaching instead of speaking. I teach by my action, not by my word.
Absolutely. Yes.
So.
Walk the walk, not just talk the
Right, right, right. But I mean, in terms of this time, though, Ruben, I mean, because we were talking about this too, and I was going to say, I busted out, the American dollar here, but I was going to say, if you look to the dollar, okay, and you look to the eagle, okay, because that's the eagle, right?
Yep.
And that for us represents the sun, okay, and so above the eagle, you have 13 stars, and then you've got 9 feathers beneath it. So this is the Mexica dimension. They have 13 on the top and 9 on the bottom. So these are Aztec symbols in mythology, because if they believed their culture was going to be true, they had to use the meaning that was truth. So they labeled all their money in our symbols, because even today, who uses cash, homies? Who uses cash? We do.
Yeah.
They don't use cash.
Yeah, that's crazy. I got it right here too on my
No,
jacket.
again, too, brother. Remember that these are like we can embrace this because we're not. They landed on us, and this is but we're not. Like this, the eagle still. It'll always be the eagle. And we're that. How you say
They can
we're the sun.
they can use whatever the fuck they want to use.
Right,
They
right,
can they can know
right,
whatever they want to know,
right.
and they think by knowing.
Apparently, they could just buy it, right?
Well, no, they
Right,
think by knowing
right.
and you not knowing gives them an edge over you.
Mm,
But it doesn't work that way. You can know all you want. Doing gives you an edge.
right, right.
I never went into any kind of Masonic or whatever you want to call anything. I've never seen them disciplined in any form of art in that manner. Like I fast for this, or I do this, or I do this discipline, or I do this. They're not disciplined. They like knowing. Knowing is nothing. Doing is everything.
Hey, well, too,
Right.
Ruben. I was talking to my nephew today. He's at Berkeley. We talk a lot about philosophies and the origins of our country. And I think a lot of their stuff or a lot. I remember, and I studied. It was set in Descartes. Descartes is I think, therefore I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so we as Mexica, we're I feel, therefore I am. So you get that? One's thinking, the other one's feeling. We miss each other completely, you
Yes.
know? And so, but we're true to our feelings,
No, no, no. It's I think and feel. That's why I am.
right, right, right. I
That's
mean, brother,
us.
but
We
the thing,
think and feel.
but
But
truth is still
there's
truth.
there's systems though that try to separate. Remember, these are the great dividers, right? They divide by calling you a certain race. They divide by calling you a certain religion. They divide, 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 divide. Right? When are we going to put together? That's the thing, to put together. So you put your heart, which is your will, together with your strategy on how to accomplish this.
Right,
I have a strategy to fasting for 5 days. I don't just go, oh yeah, I'm just going to stop eating and stop drinking and just no, there's a strategy to this. The goal is not to suffer. The goal is to get through it through the commitment to yourself, so that you can enter this wave of energy that's coming called spring. And you use that power and force that beats in your heart
right, right, right.
because we're connected to that ocean.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
This
Well,
is the focus, bros. First day, Nemotemi, today. We got 5 more days to go, which means the 11th is the new year. Today, it's not a surprise that today is day one, Nemotemi. I'm not surprised at that.
right.
Because we can go right now as a community and go, okay, yeah, I didn't prepare to fast, but what can I do? What can I do to commemorate this spring? Because I got 5 days to do it. I got 5 days before the new year. What can I do? Today's Nemotemi day one. I know what I'm doing.
But you too, Ruben, I was going to talk or to mention that when I look at the Nawiolin, and we're talking about time, you know, you see the four symbols, okay? Because this right here is also teaching us about time. So we're talking about time, and so what I like about my people, and this is I want to make this really clear. This is our message here: is that, okay? We're a people that have culture, okay, and we're as the Mexica people, we are people that in our culture we have all the races. Okay, can I say that again? As Mexica people, we have all the races. So each square also represents a color. It's white, red, black, and yellow. So in our world, we've been here long enough that we don't. Your race is just the color of your skin. It's not who you are. Whereas we come from a people that in our culture we already have all those colors. So that's something that we dealt with, man, maybe in the first or second world, but we're already in the sixth world. So, these are things that they're trying to take us back. And it's not, and you and I know this, Ruben, because like I said, genetically we fit on different squares, but we still inhabit the same circle. We still are living this experience here, and we're returning to the ways, our old ways. But part of it's the way we speak, the way we think, the way we treat each other, that to no longer like to look at people and say, oh, I don't like that person, but to say, hey, oh man, I love that brother, I love that sister, oh, I was happy to see her flowers, oh, look at his fire, look at that song, look at that dance. And it's just love. It's no longer, what I don't have. It's just embracing the love that people have, and then seeing that love and incorporating it into our life. And that's where we're on. Think about it. We're in a new year. So even that end of itself, if people are in their own world, but we're celebrating a new year. We're beginning our intentions for the next cycles that we're going through. And that's the thing. It's right here for us because this is us. I mean, you think of the center is a metaphor for us because we're here taking in the sun. This is
So
speaking to us.
and there's a technique that that I use, right? And I'm not saying that you should use it, but anyways, this is what I
Mhm.
do. When I look at those symbols,
Uh-huh.
right? And how does Daniel's just describing what they mean, how they mean to us. When you look at them and start telling yourself that that's you, the memory starts to happen. And then you automatically drift to what is supposed to be fitting. Because why? Because a piece of the puzzle is nature. And nature isn't changing. It's been constant for a
Right,
long
right.
time.
But it's us that's changing. We're
So
the
they,
ones that
so,
evolved. Right,
so they draw a picture
right,
so that it can remind you of the constant. That's constant. We're
right.
impermanent. There, it's permanent. Whatever's creating it, we don't. I don't know. I don't know what that is. But whatever it is constant.
Right.
It's billions of years old.
And do you remember, Ruben, we were talking about how our glyphs give us so much information. And remember, I was talking to you about how a symbol, we could look at these symbols and they were intending for us to see it and to see sound. And I was like, what? And it's true.
That's next level.
Okay, so this right here, okay, the circle in the circle, okay, because when you bang like get a heavy beat, it's beating, and you look at the water and it beats. See, it's a beating, and that's what that represents is the beat of sound. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't know because I look at this and I'm in your life. Okay, this is I've told in my life. I look at the Aztec calendar. It's always in our house when I was a little kid, but you look into it and you're always looking into it searching for something new. And so I'm always fascinated when I just see something new, and it just as much as because I know very little about it, but man, it's always fascinating when I learn something new. But I to look at it and to not only understand it, but to see sound. So I think, oh man, that's a profound symbol. So, but I know our people came from just great minds, great hearts, and just a love of life.
It's timeless. I feel like you look at it
Oh,
and,
so true. Yes.
it's one of those things that it doesn't age,
That's
and
what art
it
is.
speaks it just speaks volumes to
Right.
its meaning and to our people. Honestly,
That's what art
it's
is.
beyond words.
Art is timeless.
Right.
Exactly,
But I think
timeless.
art makes you feel, what I mean? Because I trip out when I first like saw some art and it just tripped me out. And I think, God, what am I feeling this way? But it just hit me. And I was like, wow,
But
that's
it's even
art.
So
beyond.
then,
It's
so
even
then,
beyond art,
if
though.
that's true, then
Feels like
Daniel, if that painting gave you a reaction,
Oh, totally. It always
imagine,
does.
imagine taking yourself, quieting your mind as much as you can, and looking at those ancient symbols.
Right.
What could you learn quietly from masterpieces that were documenting the shifting of time on Earth, as well as the shifting of time in the celestials? You can't erase that.
No.
You can't go, oh, that you're not going to get a reaction that way. You can get a reaction that way. It will point you to a certain direction.
Ruben, I taught third and fourth grade for many years, and truth be told, I learned the most from my students. My students would see it, and they'd say, "But teacher, don't you see this means this?" And I was like, "No way!" It's just because our ancestors, like I said, were doing it for so long that they did it so that our DNA could read it. And I was like,
Yes.
"Wow!" I was like, "What?" That made sense, and it's like, huh, and here's the thing, is I kinda like when you look at this and it's like, I to me, I grasped that our ancestors took knowledge and science and made it so beautiful that we call it today art. But back then, that they were just making their perspective of nature. Because when I look at this and I see, okay, and I was fascinated when I learned this. Okay, so this is the Nawiolin, but they say we live on Turtle's Back, that we live on Turtle Island, right? So look what happens when you put it sideways. Do you see a turtle?
yes,
And I think, man, I never saw that. And then there's another one too. I thought, okay, the human heart has four chambers. And this is a metaphor for a human heart too. And that's my maybe where they got lost. Oh, they pull a heart. That's bullshit. Come on. But it's a metaphor, because they were giving us a lot of metaphors here. Seeing things, because this is also a hummingbird that's flying up from the south, because the life force comes from the south. And so there's just so much here, and this is just the Nawiolin. Outside of this comes the Tonalpoali, and the Tonalpoali is the sun's 20, and then we were talking the other day. Remember, Ruben, about Tonalpoali? Okay, so Tonalpoali means the sun's 20, because Poali is a 20 count. So we have 20, 5 and 5 on our hands and 5 and 5 on our feet, and so I say Ome. Ome is the number two. So Ome Poali is how much? 40. Two counts of 20. Then we said, okay, well, check this out, Ruben. I said, I hadn't said this word in a long time, but if I say Sontli is one count of
400.
400. And he was like, wait, remember, Ruben, what'd you say when I
Right.
told you that?
So I had heard that my abuel was the keeper of the 400 rabbits,
And I was like,
like
what?
in a store, in a story,
Hmm.
right? Like maybe a spiritual story, a ritual story. But see how they're relating it with numbers?
Yes.
400 rabbits, specific to a 400 count, right? Remember, the picture is depicting nature and its number sequences. Do you understand? So
Yes.
it's almost like a map, but it isn't like a physical map of a place, but where positions will be. And the 400, when he said Sontli, he's like, oh yeah, that's a 400 count. And then Koyoshauki's related to 400, correct, Daniel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And those are the 400 stars that become the sky. And
You see?
the thing is, I teach and try to, intro about the Mayan math. And so the Mayan math system, a Puali is the first number count. It's the first base 20. But then the next base count is the Sontlis, and the Sontlis 400. And I just remember too that in the story of Coyolxauhqui, that she was 400 stars. And then I thought to myself, okay, that makes sense. And again, too, people will refer to Coyolxauhqui as the moon, but it's not really an accurate depiction. And I'm going to tell you why. Do you see the moon during the day ever?
Sometimes, but
Yes, you do. And so it's not a real accurate picture of just nighttime. It does affect us at night, but Koyosakui is actually the celestial dancing mother. So she's all the stars that are in the sky. And so that's why her body becomes all that, because she's the creator of everything. And if you look at the head of Koyosakui, that's the Pleiades. There's the seven planets. And so that's just the beginning. Like, I think I'd mentioned on the podcast, I had a book. I bought it at an indigenous fair, and it broke down all the constellations in her head and then all the ones in her body. And I thought, wait a second, that looks like Coatlicue broken up. It also looks like the Aztec calendar. Wait a second. So what? They're actually all planets. They're all constellations. They're putting it on different parts of the bodies to show you different times in the sky. And it's like, oh shit. But if you don't understand that, you just look at, oh, it's a beautiful art. When you begin to start to go deeper and you start to see the numbers, like, oh shit, you know?
so I always like to explain our art. Our art is math, right? The picture is the positioning of stars, which is science, because those positions of stars create a reaction, right? Which creates the art, which elevates your spirituality.
Right.
That's how we should be perceiving ancient hieroglyphs, the Aztec calendar, all these things. If we find the math, we'll understand the science, we can see the art that will elevate our spirituality. We don't need words. Words were brought by Europeans.
Yeah. But what's interesting too, Ruben? Think about it. One of the and this is when I talk about the three aspects of the Tonal Machotl. One of them is called Ilwika Poal Mochli. So Ilwika literally means everything that's celestial that comes from the sky. This everything that's sky coming down is Ilwika. Owali is the count, the 20 count, and the Mochli is the book. So one aspect of the stone is literally counting all those stars. And if you think about us the way we counted, that 400 is basically a base count, because when they track those stars, they use them kind of like cogs in a wheel. Like when you're looking at a clock, inside all the wheels are in perfect harmony with the wheels. And so when we track the sun, the moon, and Venus, there it is. We've got the ruler now to map out the whole sky. And so we use those 400 stars to begin to map all the rest of the sky. And so we're so far behind where they were, and so, but they had told us about this time, that beyond 2000 that we were entering a new age. And so we understand it. And so I understand, because when they taught it to me, I was like, wow, basically it's the spiral, which
We
kind of leads us to now. Every year that we're making this new year, we're leading closer to our harmony, if you will, just a stronger source of the energy, from the
because nature is constant.
yes.
nature is nothing's gonna change from that. That's that when I went to a lecture by Arturo Mesa, he talked about los cuentos or the counts of the Aztec calendar. He said it's constant. It's constant. Things revolve in cycles. And our ancestors were brilliant because we understood and were patient enough
Yeah,
to document them.
just time, Ruben.
When you do that for such a long time, then now your spirit is immersing in this wave that I was describing in terms of springtime shift,
Right.
summertime shift. It's like high tide at the ocean,
Yes.
low tide at the ocean.
Right.
It's constant. I don't know when it doesn't do that.
It's never gonna stop because it's the world. It's
Right.
its cycle. It's
It's almost so constant that we just ignore it. Like, oh, it's always going to be there. But imagine if we focused on it.
well, we take it for granted.
Right.
Honestly, we take it for
Right.
granted now.
Right.
We don't realize its power. It's
So,
what it is.
and that's what I mean about spring, summer, the shifting of time. We all know it's happening, but we don't put a focus on it. We need to put a focus on it. What kind of a focus? And now, once I do the Nemotemi and I go into the new year, right now I'm in reflection and prayer. I'm gathering my power because I have a reality that I'm going into, which is called the next year. And in that reality, I'm the master dreamer. But how am I doing that without the help of time? Well, how do you get time on your side? I do sacrifices so that they know, so that the creator, the spirits, the ancestors know that I'm commemorating this moment in time. It's easier to spot me out from the spiritual world, right? Oh, what is he doing? Imagine if all of us, our community, all Las Taslan, stopped being Las Taslan and understood who you are, so that the ancestors could point you out and go, oh, that's, because when we're drunk and we're not caring and indulging in ourselves, it's hard to find you. How are they going to find you? But if you're disciplined, if you're tied with time, it's easy to spot you out.
Well, and think about
From the
that too.
spiritual realm.
And think about it too. When you consume alcohol, you're placing yourself out of order, right? You're not in your mindset is not in the same order that it is. It's in disarray, right? So how can you be in tune with the world when you're in a state like that?
But we always on the quest for a happy life, or I don't know, this quest of whatever the quest of life is in your heart. Usually it's being successful and being a millionaire and being famous or whatever it is. My quest is to be focused on these time shifts, because if I use the energy that come with these time shifts, it's like riding a wave. I get the momentum of it.
But you
And
to
then
that,
it makes it stronger when you go, oh, well, now I'm going to put it on a flat board or a boat, and I'm going to use this boat and use the momentum of that wave now in the boat. Now I'm going faster. You know what? I'm going to put a propeller on the, or what do they call those fins on the bottom.
That's right.
So now I can control how I'm moving it.
Yeah, because you understand how the wave moves now, right?
Exactly.
You're mastering it gradually. Like you said, every year is a new level, right? You're reaching new heights. It's a beautiful thing.
You're seeing it, Sky. That's what I mean, LA native.
it's the evolution. It's your evolution. It's your spiral.
Like we can know. We go, oh yeah, Nemotemi's now, and this is the Mexica New Year, and we know. We go, okay, cool, let's go have dinner now, and let's go do this, and let's go do that.
And to our viewers, because I see some people say I had some wine, and no means are we trying to tell people what to do, right?
No.
And no means necessary.
No.
Hey man, if you chug down a couple Coronas every day after work, bro, I feel you, Dad. I used to watch my dad drink beer every day after work. I don't know why. Maybe he was just so miserable. I don't know.
Well,
Hey, brother, wait, hold on. That was my dad too, man. He drank beer and smoked cigarettes. And it was
we
a
were
long
talking.
time.
Me and Sky were
It
talking.
was a hard day at work. They just,
We were just talking about this guy. It's like, look, what about the guy that comes home from work and he just,
Exactly.
wants to just throw down his beer and he wants to
Yeah,
eat his burrito? What
that's
about
my
him?
dad.
But he's watching LA
Okay,
Natives.
but
And we got some people
cool,
watching
very
right now.
cool. But like, it's like, but on I've never met, I've never ran into information, people, ceremonies that were like not challenging you. That's the point. It's not that you drinking wine or you drinking a beer or you eating a burrito. You're going to be as challenged as you make yourself challenged. You know what I mean?
But you know what, too, Ruben? I'm gonna add
For
this, man.
me, for me, I'm going to constantly challenge because I'm alive.
Right, right,
It doesn't make sense for me to get weaker as I get older. I need to be stronger as I get older.
right, right.
I'm riding this mysterious energy called life that's given to me by a universe that I can't understand, I will never understand, sitting on top of a planet that I can never understand and conceptualize, but I'm using the energies of its shifting of time to focus myself to be full potential. Because no one gets in my way but me.
Yep.
This is the warrior path. And I take this oath for my community. Why? Because me and death are having a relationship. And if I focus myself, if I clean myself, if I understand that it's a constant, if I put myself in that energy, when I leave this earth, it will be like just following the wind. There's no fear. That's what living is. Using that energy, being conscious of it. Like Daniel said, we could feel it. You can feel it.
Well, and that's the thing too, Ruben. I think that at least to me, a lot of the New Year is about taking your intention and taking your hopes and your aspirations for the year. Whereas I think sometimes, at least I see this as like, we consume alcohol, we consume these things to bury a pain that we have, and I just think to me sometimes it was just a different flow. It's when I'm bearing pain is one feeling, but when I aspire for great things, I'm no longer feeling that pain. Because I've noticed that too. That I think many of us, and whatever it is, man, it's important that you find a passion, that you find something that makes you feel warm, that makes your
Yes.
heart putter. Because I think that that's when we begin to find our passions, we begin to be like lights. The light, and you'll see people want to be in the light, and so and it's a good thing to make light and to be light, and so I think that it's but again, do I think it's a struggle out there because but I feel like a lot of times the substances that we consume, what we do is a lot of times we're just bearing that pain, we're self medicating, they say, and so
Trying to escape from reality.
There's no judgment.
no, no, but
Yes.
I'm saying we do this to heal our pain, and I mean, but again, too, I think as we look for more aspirations, if we find our passions, that pain is less, or it's like it's the love of life tends to drown that out a bit. Some of us, I myself too, I'll take shots of tequila, just oh man, I don't want to feel the pain, but then when I was sober up, the pain is still there, you
So
know.
you can run, but you can't hide, right?
Right, and it's
And,
just like now it's
and
a
that's
different pain.
and that's I'm glad you kind of had that, you know,
Because there's no judgment,
because we're on a path to understanding what this pain is. That's our path
right?
to understand what this pain is, not to not have pain. I've never met a warrior or anybody that fought for his community or that we looked up to that didn't have pain. It had a lot of pain there. It's to understand the pain. Understand it. Oh wow, this is what people are distorting their lives with. So they have to take those shots of tequila, right? They're distorting this feeling. I know because I've been going through the most painful thing I've ever had to go through in my life. But I didn't take the shots of tequila. I focused more on me. Me, my life. The one that's feeling this so-called pain. which is energy, which I use to build my body.
Hey, it's also a teacher, a tough teacher. That's what Hubby said, you know?
Oh yeah, pain is our teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Embrace it. Man, there was one day I was sitting in there and I was just embracing it and I wanted to feel it. And I went, come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's feel it all. Let's feel it all right now, right here, right now. Because at the end, it just passed through me.
And I feel especially for us warriors, for us men, we have to.
Right.
That's what happens when you bottle it up.
You become the bottle when you bottle
Right.
it up, literally.
Nah, man, nah.
You know, I'm proud to say I've never been a drinker in my life.
A what?
A drinker. I've never
That's
taken
good.
a
That's
sip.
good.
Really
I
cool.
hardly ever, and it's funny how I work in an industry where I encourage people to drink.
Yeah. It's
That's
funny.
your business, right? That's
Yeah,
that's the
is.
music business, guys.
Yeah.
But you know,
Hey, but we're gonna change that though. LA natives, we gonna change
I
that.
write that. Yeah, that's true.
someone was mentioning wine tasting. Is that an exception?
Look, you can do whatever you want in this life. It's your life.
Yes.
I'm not saying but look, just know that every decision has a consequence,
Yeah, right.
right? In every aspect of, no one said Mother Earth is easy to live on and that we were going to have something to go to. I mean, I myself have a vice. I use cannabis, right? That's why I never judge anybody who wants to wine taste or had a bottle of wine or had a glass of wine or is drinking a beer or is drinking a 40 while they're watching LA Natives. This is not that show.
Right.
It's the show where we learn tools, where we gather brotherhood to share with the community, male and female, strategies on how to reach our full potential,
Absolutely.
how to connect to nature. What does that mean when I say that? How do I connect to nature? How do I ride the wave of spring? How do I ride the wave of energy that comes with the shift of that day? Things happen on that day. Use that energy. If we're focused on it, it's doing the danza with all your heart. If it's that, do it with all your heart.
Wholeheartedly.
Discover a discipline. Figure something out. Make yourself better into the next.
Right.
Let go of what happened last. It's gone. It's done. It's the leaves that fell off the tree, that rotted on the floor, that's blowing away with the wind. Don't try to hold on to it. It's gone.
We love you too.
You know what I mean? But spring does come. And when that does come, new leaves come. New flowers come. It's inevitable.
That's right. And here at LA Natives, we are a safe space, right? We welcome everyone from
Yeah, of
every
course.
walks of life. And we want to hear from you guys too. Let them know, Armando, that they can call in. We got to chat.
Absolutely.
It's live.
Guys,
We want to show appreciation to everyone
The
in there
viewership
right now.
right now is at all time high. The chat is lit. 626-596-1033. Now, you know, Daniel did mention about, you know, some upcoming festivals. I always encourage people to, you know, go to these Mexica New Year
Right,
events.
right.
It doesn't matter if it's in LA or San Jose. You know, I might even take a trip to San Jose and visit the homies over there.
Yeah, you know, Miklapili and that circle up there do their Mexica New Year, which I think is coming up on. I don't remember the date, but I should have had this information. Can you look it up, Mondo?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. But
Yeah,
at
it's
the same
Toshli.
time,
Look up Toshli,
Toshli.
on Instagram. Sorry about not having the exact dates. I just seen him. He was here this weekend at Plant Based Aslan, which is cool because, you know, Salazar Park had their Mexica New Year or commemoration of the New Year. So that it's starting to happen. Like us and other communities are starting to go, hey, time is shifting, guys. Let's get prepared.
Hey, and Ruben, it was such a good feeling though to know. And I was thinking, man, there was so many people at the plant-based
Maybe
salon
on
this
their
weekend,
on
and
the
it was
page.
so nice to hear.
That's probably their
You
ad.
know, Happy
Yeah,
New Year
those
to everybody. You know, it was really
those
cool.
events are beautiful, Daniel. You know, I want to really encourage all of our viewers. Whenever you get the chance, come check it out because it words don't do it no justice, right, Daniel? It's
Right?
really
No,
just a thing to
it's an
come and see.
experience. It's an experience, and to see the danzantes and all the regalia and everything, it's just, and I mean, it's a really good thing, I think, to start making it an annual, and just to know, okay, this is the new year, and it's just we're just beginning to set that to bring us back to
Well,
time, to correct
and
time.
and to put it back, to using that energy, think about that. You're going to go to San Jose, or those of you that are lucky enough to live out there and see hundreds of danzantes. It's a lot of them. It's like 100, more than 100, right? And we're
Right?
just
Yeah.
talking about the wave of energy that comes with spring. And now you're dancing. We're
Right.
putting it all together, guys.
And it's a 3-day ceremony.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
starts March 15th through the 17th.
there it is, 15.
Emma
Prush Park.
Pooch Park, third annual Cali Native Night kicks off the
Nice.
event.
Yeah, shout out to Mihlapili. He's been doing it for years.
And guys,
It gets bigger and bigger.
hundreds of vendors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Hundreds of vendors, hundreds of dancers, rain or shine. He usually has some sort of a native group. Like, last time he had the voladores, the guys that do the pole, and
Oh yeah,
I called the voladores de Pantla. I think they're called that.
just great people overall. Just great people. Great energy.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. It's
he's
good
been
for
doing.
people just to have these events out there, the things that places you can go and and it's a growing event, and other places are beginning to have it too. Because it used to be just one place would celebrate, but now hopefully everywhere. 'Cause I even noticed here in the Bay, people were saying, "Hey, Happy New Year!" And man, it's really cool. A lot of raza are just we're beginning to and even when they say, "Hey, why do you say that?" It's all because we know it's a good time to educate people, and it's
The
always good to
movement
hear.
has started. The movement has started.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, this was an ancient prophecy, you know,
Well, it's a
of,
good
Cuau- of
intention, man.
Cuauhtemoc.
Happy New
Of
Year,
Cuauhtemoc. Cuauhtemoc talked about us, coming to understand who we are, and if we look at it deeply, if that prophecy meant that everyone's heart would open up like a flower to who they truly were, what ancient wisdoms lived inside them, because remember, it's decoded in your DNA, you know.
Right, right,
So, if a metaphor, if our heart is this flower, and it's springtime on the celestial side of things,
right.
then that's why we're waking up naturally. So yeah, maybe you may be having a glass of wine this year, but next year, maybe not. Right?
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think
It's not about where you are. It's
it's
about where you're going.
it's where you're going, man. It's
Exactly.
finding yourself in this very chaotic, not easy to live place called Earth,
And it's okay because, like you said, we're
or
human.
what they called Earth. We called
Right.
it Tonansi.
We're human and we're growing, right?
right.
We're
We're
learning.
evolving,
We're not. There's
evolving.
no such thing as losses. We're all learning. It's a journey. It's constantly picking apart life and making these mistakes and falling up and getting down. They're talking a lot about bikes in the chat. It's like riding a bike. You're never gonna
Right.
know if you don't fall. Never gonna know. So
Bikes.
it's a
What's
beautiful.
up with the bikes?
It's a beautiful struggle.
I
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
a lot of. It seems like there's an affinity with bikes today.
I see. Well,
Yeah, hey, it's a good movement. It's a green movement.
and just these are the little things that we can tweak to really gain back what we call land back, our power, our identity. It comes with searching, finding, and figuring out a certain approach to reaching that full potential.
Right.
Whatever it is. If it's your physical body, I think it should be that. I think, that's the vessel that we use to take care of our children.
Right.
That's the vessel that we use to make this show. So I can't be disorientated in my body. I have to be full potential in my body. And to do that, there's certain practices. No one taught me how to do this, Nemotemi. And this year, I really want to put a focus. Right now, I'm on day one, no solid foods, but I did mineralize this day. Tomorrow I will mineralize. And then the next day I'll focus on my liver. And then the next day I'm going to focus on my kidneys. And then I'll break my fast with fruit. And then I'll be in the new year using the energy of spring to propel my dream. The dream that Our community will recognize who they are naturally. Without judgment, they'll fix themselves because they feel it. It's time. That spring is here. It's now, right this second. The universe is talking. If you
Right.
feel it, use it. Better yourself for yourself because yourself is your children.
Too, Ruben, I want to say on the on your note about the children, man, I'd like to say, for all the people out there that have kids, it's a really good time to think of some intentions for your kids for the year. It's a good time, and all of you, it's your greatest creation are your children. And I'm, man, so proud of all of the parents and people that I know on LA Natives. And man, all their kids are just beautiful, well adjusted, good people. And it's like, man, because the Mexica, we had the ability to see into the future, and you take care of the kids, and we're taking care of our future. And so, just so in particular, I know Ruben, your sons, man, this weekend were really. It was just real nice to see the family all just working in unison, and that's the type of stuff that we're talking about, just the beginning of everybody working together, and it's just we come from people it's just we aspire for things that money doesn't buy. It's like if you could have something that money can't buy, then you're truly rich, and I think we are those people that's we never had money. Our whole system existed without money, and
And I could think of one thing that money can't buy. You and your connection with the sun.
right. Oh my goodness, yes, yes.
Because you can't buy somebody to get you out of bed, put you outside, to look at the sky at
Yeah,
that
it's interesting
particular
you say that
point.
because the sun feels so good. Like, oh my goodness, it's just
I
such
just know what it feels like when I look outside the window and I see the color of the sky changing,
right.
and it's like this perfect amber gold. It's a frequency.
Now, and I envy you, man, because
It's a
here in the Bay,
frequency.
it's been too rainy and cloudy, man. I
Oh,
was there this weekend; it was so sunny and warm. Oh man, it's just I drove back into the clouds. I mean, I'm
and
not complaining because the water's good, but oh, I miss the sun. But I feel that vibration. It's just a warmer frequency, even the garden and everything. It's just even though it's cloudy, things are perking up nice. It's
the
a
point
very
is the point is that you can't pay yourself to get up at that time to
right,
recognize that.
right,
You
right,
can't.
That's what you can't buy. You can't buy that.
You'll never be able to buy that.
If you do that, what you get from it, think about it. The sun is responsible for giving information to the birds, the insects, the trees, the plants, the people. Every information is coming from that sun and the light
right.
that it's hitting our earth with, our mother, our Tonantzin. So then if I am seeing that amber gold color, then I'm connected to this massive star of reality, life, dreaming, whatever you want to call it. I can communicate with it. I'm up with the birds. I'm up with the trees as they start to stretch their branches. I'm up with it. I'm using the energy that's coming. So it's not just springtime, it's every day.
Right, right,
A wave happens, it's constant.
right.
Just like the sunrise, just like the sunset, just like the 12 noon. It's constant. It's not just springtime. Imagine using the wave of springtime and then using the inertia of each day after that. That's the full potential that we seek energetically, spiritually, intention wise.
And that's life. Living that journey to find that balance, right? It's not something that's gonna happen overnight. It's not something that we're telling people to go home and study and in 1 month they're gonna have it figured out. No, it's every day, like you said.
Yeah.
Every day we
And
have to
I'm not
hold
saying
ourselves
that every
accountable.
day. I mean, when I catch that color, there's only one, there's only a few moments in time where the sky is that color. And then it changes. But if I could catch that color, then I'm in that time. because I'm catching the color. Not the time on my watch, the color of the sky. It changes when even if the sun isn't out yet, it starts to change. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever been up
Yes.
in
Yeah,
that?
that's cool. Yes.
Yep.
Right? So I'm catching the color, man. And then you want to put this in super drive. When you catch the color, try to catch the first ray. I mean, you know that little
Yeah.
tiny little dome as it's coming up from behind a building, from behind a
Yeah.
mountain, from behind a
Yes.
tree, from behind a whatever. Man, that puts you on another level.
Those radiant beams of sun.
Like it's
Right.
just it's such an amazing experience to do that. I did that. We used to do that when we used to stay up ceremony on Anza.
Right.
You know, we used to do that when we did the stay up ceremonies or when we and you can it's just such a connection that happens.
And Ruben, let me add this, man. Could you imagine that feeling, okay, of just the sun beginning to peak? That happened in 1987.
Wow.
Yeah, I want you to think about that. In
Mm.
'87 was the sun started to peak. 13 years after, it was halfway evolved. 2012, it was fully illuminated.
Right.
So
And now we're in this we're starting to
yeah,
get
now
some
we're the
other
13 years
experiences.
in past that, and
Right.
so it's things are going to get warm. The spiral is only getting stronger. But that's why too the new year is important for us because our ancestors built the homes and places that we live on this earth where we live, and they made it through these times. They
Right.
made it through before. And so we're going to make it through again. We just got to follow like the truth and time, you know.
I never doubted the wisdom that came from that last speech given by Cuauhtemoc.
Yeah, it's a beautiful speech. Yes.
It's just go research it. Go research it. It's Cuauhtemoc's mandate, right? It's in Spanish. You'll probably have it in Spanish, and if you can
Yeah,
find the
it's translated
subtitles,
from not what it's a very good. I mean, he speaks very clearly. If you understand the way he's saying, he's telling you exactly what's going to happen and what has happened. It's
right?
it's a good. But again, dude, Ruben, we're part of people that have been here a long time. Like you said, boy, they had a vision for us in the future. It's like those people that plant a tree, knowing that someday it's going to provide shade that they'll never get, but they still
Right.
plant the tree.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. They planted a tree because they'll never pick that fruit. That's what we're doing right now.
Right.
That's what we're doing right now. I'm never going to see the fruit of this. I'm not. It's okay.
But our intention, Ruben, our
That's the
intention,
definition of love.
yes.
Unconditional.
It's doing it for something I'm not even going to see.
That's why it's because there's no condition. You're doing it because it's what's supposed to be done.
Right. It's in the order, like you said, of nature where, you know, we have to prepare ourselves. And that's why when I went to the sweat lodge or when I went to those, got around a lot of my brothers that were native, they said everything that we do will affect 7 generations.
Right. That's a good point.
Right. So then I said, okay, well, everything we do will affect 7 generations. So I said, okay, I'm gonna plant myself in the most powerful structures that I think are relevant to reality. The
Right.
sun, the earth, myself. Those are the PowerPoints. Use them with the rhythms of nature, and you'll see how we can just change things without having to complain, without having to point out and judge. That's the whole things that they lead us down that rabbit hole to lead us to silly, ridiculous novella style lives. That's not our life. That's not nothing to do with it. Once you get into the rhythms of nature, then you start to see your son become a profound artist. You start to see your daughter become an amazing chef, or those, because they're coming out like flowers out of a bush.
Well, they're following their Quetzalcoatl, you know? Quetzalcoatl is creation. You know, you're when you flow, it's your Quetzalcoatl coming from the sky through your spinal cord, and it flows out of you. You know, you are creation, you know?
Yeah,
And
it's like
so
the sun. It's just beaming golden
yeah,
rays. We
yeah.
become like the sun, right?
I
We
mean,
have
and
that order.
it's healthy for us to create in whatever it is, a poem, a food, a song, a house, you know, a car, but whatever it is you wanna create, that you make. You know, it's part of your spirit, you know, that it's part of our nature to just to complete creations, you know, to observe, to experiment, to discover, and ultimately create. You know, it's a,
Absolutely. So I just wanted to acknowledge this day, which is the first day of Nemotemi. So you got 5 days before the new year begins. Focus on these 5 days. Look inward. Prepare yourself for next year. Know that these 5 days are leading just the beginning to lead you to the summer, the winter, and the fall. Be in those rhythms. Like this year, I had a lot of ideas. And usually I'm impulsive, so I start them in the middle of winter because I guess I was born around that time. So
right,
they never really kind of flourished. Now I'm learning to be patient, launching things with using the energy of the universe. Why would I be out of sequence with
right.
that?
When the time is right,
Why would I be out of sequence with the most amazing experience, which is the sunrise, the
right.
sunset, the 12 noon, the midnight?
It's just a beginning, Ruben. You know, it isn't always isn't a beginning always beautiful,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we're at. We're at the beginning of the
right?
new.
You know, that's really cool.
So day one, Nemotemi, you got 5 days. 5 days to focus on yourself. Just focus on yourself. What if that's the commitment? You don't have to fast. What if you just focused on yourself?
Hey, you know what, too, Ruben? I
What
was
is it?
had
What are those questions that I need to ask myself?
right, right,
What kind of preparation am I gonna take that time? Don't be so. We don't have to like Sky said. Nothing's gonna be overnight.
right.
Just know that next year's coming. It's already coming.
Time waits for nobody.
It's like
Right,
exactly.
right.
It's coming. It's already coming. So if we start preparing now for next, then now you'll be on time. I love that feeling. I've been that way for 8 years. 8 years. I've been fasting for 8 years, bringing in the new year for 8 years. I feel amazing.
Well, it's good
I
to be
feel
on
like
time.
yeah,
You're on time.
I feel like accepting my todan, understanding what I'm doing at Malinali Superfoods, understand what we're doing with plant-based taslan, understanding what we're doing with Indigenous Peoples Day, East Los Angeles, building a community of so many connected individuals. That's what causes the change of next 7 generations. And it's cool. I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to see it. It's cool. But you'll feel my love over there. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, I feel the love of my ancestors building those pyramids, making those codicy books,
Right.
putting together the math and the science that we use right now, today, this second. Taking the time to make the artwork, to conceptualize the artwork. I feel it. I feel their love. That's love.
It was
The
intended for us,
ultimate,
Ruben. Their intention was for us.
ultimate love, right? The ultimate love.
Right.
The ultimate love is to go, don't forget that you're a part of nature. That's that's what it says.
Right.
Don't forget that you're a part of nature. That you're part of the stars. That you're part of the sun. That you're part of the moon. You're part of the water. You're part of the fire. You're part of the earth. You're part of the rocks.
In
Part
other
of the
words, yeah,
animals.
don't forget our essence. Don't forget who we are.
We
where
are
we came
nature.
from.
We are nature. We are
We are
nature.
one.
Tie yourself to the time. We're entering the new year. Nemotemi day one. Focus. Be strong. Be wise. Use your heart to guide you. We'll see you next time. Lasukamatli. Umeteo. Onansi.
Much love.